Don't forget to be at the banquet tonight, Stan shouted as my wife hurried out the door. It really means a lot to my career. Don't worry, I'll be there. I promise, I replied. I finished my porridge, rinsed the dishes, and placed my phone on the table. Then, I went upstairs to change into my comfortable golf attire. I tossed my golf clubs and shoes into the car and drove off, planning to meet a couple of friends at a course in Stown, just 100 miles down the road. We had an 11:30 a.m. tee time. The weather was perfect for a fall day. Some things in life simply can't be bought. After finishing our round around 3:30 p.m., we went into the clubhouse to grab a bite. It had been a few years since I last saw Jack and Steve, two of my college buddies, so we had a great time catching up. After we ate, we decided to play a few more holes. We were enjoying ourselves so much that we lost track of time and finished just as the sun began to set. That was awesome. Jack grinned as we wrapped up the game. Do you have to leave right now, or can you have another drink with us? Stan, have I ever turned down a drink, especially from such generous losers? I chuckled. Let's head to the watering hole. We knocked back a couple of beers and reminisced about our glory days. I found myself thinking that I was really enjoying the time spent with them, and that I should see Jack and Steve more often. As I drove closer to home, my mood slowly started to sink. I could already picture Bry's reaction when I walked through the door. She'd be furious. I'd have to figure out how to calm her down. I laughed to myself, realizing I was already anticipating the inevitable, her anger. When I walked into the living room, her greeting was anything but warm. Where the hell have you been? She demanded. I told you this banquet was very important to me, and for you to remember to be there by 6. Sorry, darling. The boss had me downtown, I said, fighting for an excuse. There was terrible traffic. I just got back. I spoke to Tom. Brandy shot back. He was home by 6:30. He said you took time off work and didn't even show up. And you left your phone on the kitchen table, so I couldn't even get a hold of you. Bry's voice raised in anger. You're a terrible liar and a pathetic golfer. Well, now that we have that out of the way, I shrugged, pretending to give up. I'm exhausted. Settled. Bry's eyes flared. You've just admitted you were lying to me. How about telling me the truth? I sighed dramatically. I was kidnapped. Pirates stole me in my car and took me to an old warehouse to hold me for ransom. But then aliens showed up and pulled me onto their ship. They experimented on me, sticking probes into my teeth, eyes, and other places. Brandy stared at me, wide-eyed and speechless. When they finally left the room, I was lucky enough to untie the knots they tied me with. I had to figure out how to fly their ship, and, well, I accidentally crashed it in Scranton. I hitchhiked with a trucker to get my car back. But don't worry, I'm feeling fine. Just a bit tired. Brandy just stared at me in disbelief, too angry to even respond properly for a few moments. Stan, what the hell are you talking about? She finally sputtered. Stop making up these ridiculous stories and tell me why you missed the banquet. You know how important it was to me. I got a promotion, and you were supposed to be there with me. It was so embarrassing that you weren't there. I sighed and admitted, I was playing golf with Jack and Steve, a couple of old college buddies. They beat me at first, but I came back and beat them by 30 feet on the 7th hole. Ever since then, I've been kicking their butts. This new putter, it's amazing. I've hit a few shots over 300 yards. Golf, Brandy repeated, disbelief in her voice. You knew this dinner was crucial to me, and you went and played golf instead? You planned it days ago, didn't you? So why lie to me and say you'd be at my event if you weren't even going to show up? I didn't want to hurt you, I said quietly. I lied a little. I hoped you wouldn't find out. Wouldn't find out? Bry's eyes widened with fury. You didn't want to hurt me? Are you crazy? How could I not notice the empty chair, you idiot? How did you think I wouldn't be offended by you skipping such an important event for me? I stood there in silence, realizing too late how foolish my choices had been. I guess I never meant to hurt you, I admitted, though at the time everything seemed exciting and new. It just happened. It was just golf. Nothing personal. Are you drunk or something? Did you and your old buddy smoke a joint? Brandy asked, her voice sharp. You sound completely out of your mind. I'm too tired to deal with your selfish behavior tonight. You can sleep in one of the old nursery rooms. I don't want you to touch me or even talk to me for a while. No problem, dear. I'll be as quiet as a mouse, I promised, trying to keep things light. Brandy looked at me like I was some kind of bug she'd never seen before. I gave her a smile and made my way to Brian's room. Brandy and I had been married for 24 years, and now, with both of our children in college, we were adjusting to the empty nest. I climbed into Brian's bed and quickly fell into a deep sleep, muttering to myself in my dreams. The next morning, I was dressed for work, reading the newspaper and eating cereal when Brandy walked into the kitchen. Don't think I'm done with you, Stan, she warned. I don't know how or if you'll ever make up for yesterday. I think you need to figure that out yourself. I'll be working late tonight, so you can start your penance by cooking yourself dinner. No problem, sweetie. I can take care of myself, I replied, not looking up. Have a good time. What do you mean, have a good time? Brandy demanded, confused. Have a good day. Be happy. Don't worry about me. Don't take any wooden nickels, I said, trying to sound casual. She looked at me like I had two heads, then turned and walked off to work. I picked up the phone and dialed my work number, claiming I wasn't feeling well and wouldn't be in today. I spent the morning shopping and finally came across something I had been wanting for a while at Best Buy. I ordered the largest flat-screen TV I could find and had it delivered the same day. By the time the TV was set up, it was just in time for the evening news. It worked so well, in fact, that I couldn't stop looking at the anchorwoman's cleavage. The TV was huge. It took up an entire wall in the living room, and it even blocked the closet door, but it was worth it. I called a few guys from work and invited them over to watch the first game of the World Series. We ordered pizza and ribs from a place down the road. When Brandy walked in, seeing the massive TV and the guys sitting around, her face was a picture of shock. Harry, our accounting guy, stood up and shook her hand. Congratulations on the promotion. That TV is incredible. You're lucky to have a wife like her, Stan, he raved. Thank you. Thank you very much. Brandy hesitated, clearly caught off guard. I'm really tired, so I'm going to leave you guys to watch the game. I'm going to bed. As she left the room, I thought to myself that maybe she hadn't taken it as badly as I'd feared. The next morning, I was once again reading the paper when Brandy walked into the kitchen. You're going to get that damn monster out of here and take it back to the store before I get home from work tonight, she shouted. Can you hear me, Stan? I hear you, honey. No need to raise your voice, I grinned. I'm not deaf. The door slammed behind her so hard I thought the glass in the windows would break. That evening, as I was watching Cheers, Brandy walked into the living room. I thought I told you to return that thing today, she began. You said you heard me and that I didn't need to raise my voice. Now I come home, and it's still here. What part of that didn't you understand, you idiot? I glanced up at her, a bit annoyed. I've never understood why Norm is on this show. He's not even funny. At that, foam and saliva practically flew from Brandy's mouth as she tried to form a coherent sentence. Her face turned crimson. Stan, listen to me. I told you to return the TV, but you didn't do it, Brandy said, her voice filled with frustration. I didn't buy it to send it back, honey, I replied with a smile. I like it, and I'm keeping it. I understand what you said earlier, I continued, but the real issue here isn't that I didn't understand you. It's that I didn't follow your instructions. You didn't expect me to defy you, did you? Brandy stood frozen, caught off guard. This was a new situation for her, and she didn't know how to handle it. What's happened to you, Stan? You skip an important event with weak excuses. Then go ahead and buy a huge, expensive TV without consulting me first. Are you feeling okay? She asked, her tone anxious. I'm fine, darling. Thank you for asking, I said. trying to keep my cool. I knew that if I asked about the TV, you would have told me it was a bad idea. I decided to skip the argument and just ordered it. It's easier and it doesn't hurt anyone. It does hurt, Stan, Brandy growled. This thing is too big for the room. I can't even vacuum around it. You spent a lot of money on something that doesn't fit our house and didn't even discuss it with me first. How could you think it wouldn't hurt? I understand, I admitted. I should have thought about how this would affect you before I went ahead with it. Can I return it? Yes, I think that would be a good idea, Brandy replied, but I prefer it done tomorrow, not Monday. I'll take care of it, I promise. Although I had no real intention of doing so, Brandy sighed. I'm working tomorrow afternoon. I hate working on Saturdays, but that's how I got the promotion. So please, take care of it while I'm gone. I nodded, agreeing to her request, then turned my attention back to the TV, which was showing a program I wasn't particularly interested in, but kept watching anyway. Saturday afternoon, I called Brandy's parents and invited them for lunch. We met at a cafe, where I introduced them to Cindy Walsh, who had been waiting for me. Cindy seemed exhausted, and I wondered if she was managing okay. Brandy's parents barely acknowledged Cindy, focused only on the free meal I treated them to. At 3 o'clock, we followed Cindy to her house and parked behind her in the driveway. Cindy invited us into her tastefully decorated living room. After a moment, Cindy approached the security system remote and pressed a few buttons. Suddenly, the sound of sirens filled the room, and an automated voice ordered all intruders to leave the premises immediately. Before anyone could react, the door swung open and Cindy's husband, Charles, burst into the room holding a bat. He was completely naked and in a state of semi-arousal. Not recognizing either Brandy's parents or me, he swung the bat threateningly. "Get the hell out of here before I beat your brains out," he shouted, pulling the bat back for another swing. Just as I thought about stepping in, we heard a scream. "Mom? Dad? Stan? What are you doing here?" Brandy's parents turned to see Brandy standing in the doorway, holding a sheet against her body, clearly distressed. "I invited him here to have some fun," Cindy explained, entering the room. "Charles isn't very good at hiding his affairs. I knew he was having one when I had to go to Philadelphia for the weekend, and I even guessed it would be you, Mrs. Burns, based on how attentive he was to you at the banquet last night." I stood up and nodded at Brandy's parents, then walked over to Cindy, shaking her hand. I glanced over at Charles and Brandy before turning back to Brandy. "Notre Dame's playing tonight, and I don't want to miss it on my big screen. When you're done here, you're taking your parents home, right, Brandy?" I asked. "I'm sure they won't mind waiting a bit. I'll entertain them during the commercial toss, but it won't be with the TV." Once the game ended, I carried Brandy's clothes into the living room. Brandy reluctantly walked through the door, looking around at the mess. "Stan, please don't do this," she pleaded, staring at the pile of her belongings. "It was just an affair and nothing more. I never meant for you to get hurt. You weren't supposed to find out. You were supposed to trust me. We've had too many years together to just throw it all away like this." I pointed to the empty chair across the room. How could I not notice that damn empty chair? This marriage meant everything to me, and you went and betrayed me with him. Brandy started to cry. "I love you, not him. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It doesn't matter anymore," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You were furious with me when I skipped your event, something that was really important to you, and now you slept with your boss. Isn't that a bit worse than wasting time on golf?" "I'm suffering, believe me, Stan," Brandy said. "My dad called me all kinds of names. They think I'm cheap and I can't work with Charles again. Can't we just put this affair behind us?" "Your affair is something I can't just forget about, Brandy," I replied calmly. "I've seen how you behaved over the last few days. The lies, the disrespect, the inability to trust you. I can't live with a man like that. Can you?" Brandy looked away, tears streaming down her face. "Take your bag, Brandy. My lawyer will contact you on Monday. The TV stays and you don't.